Hi everyone, and welcome to this Google Digital Garage training session, Writing for Social Media. My name's Kirsty and I am very excited to be delivering this session to you today. And I'm not here alone. Joined with me in the chat we have Samantha. So if you haven't already said hello, please do go to that chat, that YouTube chat. Let us know where you're signing in from today, what it is you want to get from this session. Do you have a business that you're working on and you're looking at running that social media and you want some ideas on how to create that content? Let us know in the chat. While you're doing that, I'm also going to run through some housekeeping. So first of all, if you do at any point have any trouble hearing or seeing this webinar, please do try refreshing your browser, and hopefully that will help fix any issues that you've got when it comes to sound or the video just not keeping up with you, and hopefully that will help everything. The other thing I want to point out as well is we do also have captions running. So if you need captions, as I can see, we have so many people signing in from all over the world, which is amazing. So if you do need those captions, at the bottom of the YouTube video, when you hover over it, do click on to that caption so that it will appear for you. I'll be pausing throughout for any questions. As normal, if any of you have attended any of our other Google Digital Garage training sessions and webinars, I will be pausing to take any questions. But don't forget, you can ask and talk to us in the chat as much as you want, and Samantha will be there to send you some helpful links and also answer any questions as we move through the session. Other than that, just to let you know, there is a link in the description of this video. So if you press, I think it says view more or see more underneath the video in the description, you'll also find a link to our Google Digital Garage website with the full broader offering of all of the online webinars, including a booking schedule. So you can go and have a look at what is interesting for you, what's next, and what it is you want to do as your next virtual session. So I can see a couple of people there joining in. Hi Natasha in the Lake District. It's not too far away from me, about an hour. I'm here down in Liverpool from you. Hello Engie again from Egypt. Nice. Katie from Colchester. Martin in Cambridge. KK from West London. Really interesting because that's what they call me. KK, they're my initials as well. That's my nickname. Who else have we got? Kira and Brighton. So many people absolutely loving all of those hellos. So keep them coming. Let us know what your businesses are as well. Tell me what you're doing. What is it that you're doing online as a business and you're trying to promote with these social channels? Let us know. So we're going to walk through this session and we're going to break them up into 3 really clear objectives. Really similar format. So those of you that I recognize your names, very similar format to what we've done in previous sessions, really making it clear, breaking it down into 3 core parts that you can follow along and get those tips and tricks that you need to start getting your social media really engaging and creating that content that works. First thing we're going to think about: how do we define what we call our brand on social media? And we're going to give you a couple of exercises that you can take away and really work on as a bit of homework after this session, and do it for yourself and understand, okay, how can I start to shape my brand and what that means online? Then we're going to think about the actual writing. How do we understand those core principles for improving how we talk on social media to our target audience? And finally, I'm going to leave you with a couple of tools, some of our favorite tools here at Google Digital Garage for content creation and also managing that content creation. So that's how we're going to walk through today's session. Before I jump in though, I do also want to highlight this incredible opportunity to book a one-to-one mentoring session with Google, with a Google Digital Garage mentor like myself, like Samantha, and you can actually book in for an hour session more than once. And it depends what you want to talk about. You don't have to just talk about what we are covering in today's session, but if you've attended anything else, you can also book those sessions to actually talk about multiple things and kind of separate that time over a few sessions. Now, unfortunately, a couple of you I know that are not signing in from the UK. This is currently open for UK businesses or charities. However, we do have links with other one-to-one mentoring services. So if you have a look at the Digital Boost platform, there's some mentoring services that are actually there available globally. So if you're global today, have a look at some of the options on the site as well. Let's get cracking. So defining our brand on social media, and I can see a few of you are let me know what you do. We've got community manager for Fuel 10K. We have is that CleeQQ? Is that how I say that? Studios, via social media platforms. So promoting the studio. Is it a space? Is it actually promoting the studio work? What you do within the studio? Natasha, a design agency. You're a social media marketer. Okay, 3 very different clients, and currently training a client on their social brand. Okay, so this could help you actually, Natasha. Some of the activities could really, really help you take these to clients and sort of work with the clients in a similar way. Create an appropriate perception in customers' mind. We've got some developers on the call. Yeah, amazing. Loving that. Graphic designer, so much of a range. So welcome to all of you. So I want to ask you a question, first of all. In the chat, tell me, what is a tone of voice when we're thinking about the brand? What do I mean by that? Thanks, Katie. Click. Sorry for the mispronunciation there. Yeah, so tell me in the chat, what is a brand tone of voice? When you're thinking about a brand and you're thinking about what they do and what they put out there, what does that mean? Because we knock around some of these words and these phrases, and we have these buzzwords and buzz sentences, and sometimes we actually don't stop and think about what that actually means. So I'm interested to see, what do you think I mean by a brand tone of voice? How do you come across to the audience, the way you say things depending on your target audience, so many things. Gen Z, like I'm Gen Z, so I'm just natural with my content. May, love that. I wouldn't disagree with you there. There's definitely the kind of Gen Z immediate thrill. My brother is also Gen Z, and he is amazing with anything online. The way in which a brand sounds to the consumer, nice. A style of communicating to an audience that's usually consistent across the brand. How you speak to your audience. It's about character. So many absolutely amazing answers there. And you're right, everything that you're saying is completely 100% right. And we can encompass this with something that we use when we describe someone's brand or someone's character, their personality. And if you think of everything that everyone's saying in that chat, it's all to do with the business's personality. Who are they? If your business is regional, or it has an accent, or it works within a certain generation of people, or it has a certain product or a certain service that people really do connect with, that are interested in that niche, what's the personality? And what I sometimes say to clients are, if your business is walking down the street speaking to its potential customers directly as a person, how does it speak? What words does it use? Does it have a catchphrase? Is it quirky? Is it fun? What's the personality of your business? And what we find sometimes is that a business, you meet a business owner or someone that's really quite, especially with startups, I'm thinking small businesses and startups, and you go to networking events and you meet someone and they tell you about their business and you're really sold on that business, right? And it's because that person is so engaging and so confident and so great that you think, oh, this business has to be amazing. And then you go onto their social media and it's that, I call it like a commentator voice. They just somehow we just adopt this voice online where it's like, and today we have done this. And it's just the same voice. And it's very, very strange. But it seems to happen when people get onto their profiles. They sort of feel like, oh, we're the business. But think about you. If you're selling your business in a room of people, what are those transferable traits of a personality, humanness, if that's a word, how you speak if it was a person? So in the chat, and also note this down in front of you, because this is something that you can come back to after the session. Tell me, if you were to describe your brand. Now, if you're here today and you don't have a business and you're kind of thinking of ideas, or maybe you are your business, maybe you're something like a musician or an artist and you are the business, great, use yourself. But if you were to describe that brand as a celebrity, an existing brand, what celebrity would you choose? And you don't have to choose one on the screen, they're just examples. But can you think of a celebrity that really kind of encapsulates the personality of the brand you're here working on today? My favourite on this screen, I mean, George Clooney. If you think about the brands that he represents that link to then his personal brand, it's very, very clear, right? He's very suave. He's always in a nice suit. He's got a very clear identity. And then you look at the like TV adverts, for example, that he does, Nespresso. He's always, again, in that Armani, he's in Armani as well, adverts. So he's always in a very suave looking suit, and he's always kind of walking down the side of a pool of a fancy hotel, and it screams kind of luxury. So if you were thinking about your brand and the celebrity that might represent you, it doesn't mean that you are going to morph into that celebrity, but it's a brand that works, right? So you can start thinking about, okay, how does this person, who is a real life person, use their brand to connect with their fans? And how can we do that as a business with our business personality? And I can see a few coming through there. Let's have a look. I see there, podcast would be Lucy Wolseley, quirky, approachable and dry sense of humour. Nice. Tom Holland, young, keen, upstart. Really, really cool. Natasha there. George Clark. I actually don't know who that is. Interesting. Tell me more. Who's George Clark? Give me an idea. Give me one sentence of like a couple of ways that describe him. Client 2, Steve Jobs, nice. And Claire's gone with Dawn French, reliable, relatable, funny and honest. Yeah, amazing. Actually, Dawn French is a really great one for a brand because also covers a massive amount of people that can connect with her too from everything she's done. Patrick, cool, controversial. Donald Trump, unpredictable, edgy, outspoken and in need of reform. Megan, what have we got here? George Clark's Amazing Spaces, is that the one? I don't know, hang on. Yeah, TV, it is the one, Megan, you're right. Natasha, Amazing Spaces, fun, approachable, loves innovative housing design. Actually now do know who you're talking about. Now you said Amazing Spaces. I'm really bad with names sometimes. And yeah, it's really awful because I don't really watch TV or anything. So I have to actually look people up, and I get all of my information from social media. There you go, everyone helping me out. Isn't George Clark the architect guy? Yep, he is. I'll Google him again later. Oh, Nelson Mandela. Some really amazing names coming through here as well. So if any of you haven't been brave enough to put your celebrity in the chat, don't worry, you don't have to. Maybe on the next question that I've got, you can put that in as well. But make sure you've written this name in front of you, because you might get to the end of this section and think, actually, I want another celebrity, I want a combination, or I'm going to change my celebrity. So start thinking about, okay, who can we think about? We're going to break down this first section into 4 really clear areas. And I think this is a great way to start breaking this down when it comes to developing that brand and that tone of voice. So step one, without doing any of this in-depth work, can you think of a celebrity that you feel really resonates with your brand? That's the step one. Great, fantastic. Some of us have got there already. Next step one on this 4-part list. What do you stand for as a business? Have you got a kind of value statement? Now, this is not necessarily your mission statement, although your mission statement can include your values and what you stand for. But this could be even internal for anyone that you're working with internally. What do you care about as a company? What do you stand for? Are you thinking that customer service is number one priority? Have you got environmental things that are at the core of everything you do? What is your core brand or business values that you stand for? And I'm going to keep coming back to these two invented examples here. They're fictitious, they're not real. But sometimes when we look at kind of an example of a business or a type of business, it helps us understand and work through these exercises in a little bit more detail. So on the left, we have a pizzeria as an example business. And on the right, we have a brand called Hathaway Legal. So two very different businesses that would have two very different brands when it comes to communicating with their audiences. So let's start with the pizzeria. When it comes to their brand values and the things that they stand for, they care about making quality pizza. So that word quality, it's all about quality with fresh ingredients. Providing excellent customer service is really important to them. And being fast and reliable home delivery or takeaway. Again, really, three really important things that this pizzeria really care about. Then we've got this other business here, Hathaway Legal. So a little bit of a different type of business, right? So they're wanting to dedicate the highest level of diligence to each case. So that keyword there, diligence. And we believe that our clients deserve a quick response. So we want to be prompt and totally on it, and everyone know that they're getting that time. And we only hire top lawyers. And because, again, of the type of business it is, it's giving them credibility within those brand values. So as a task after this session, one thing for you to do is write these 4 things down as we move through them. So number 1 is your brand values, and create a list for yourself. Loads of bullet points, and you don't have to pick the top 3 straight away. Can you just write a full list? You might get up to 10 or 15 of all the brand values that are super important to the brand you're working with, or if it's your brand and your business, what are those core values? Once you've written them down, turn the page over, give it a bit of a brain break, come back to it, and then reflect on what the top values are that when you're not in the room, when your brand is not in the room, you want people to know this is what that brand stands for. This is what they care about. So that's step 1, brand values. Step 2, we need to create our user pen portraits. Now, this is the same thing as creating your personas, your buyer personas. If any of you have done work on your target market, it's all interchangeable name for the same thing. How can you, and can you do it, describe in extreme detail who your target audience is? I've got an amazing quote on the next slide that it just really speaks to why we need to do this. If you're creating content for everyone, you're creating content for no one. What do you think I mean by that? If you're creating content for everyone, you're creating content for no one. And it's really interesting because whenever I'm mentoring or working with a new client, I say to them, who's your audience? Often I get the same answer. They'll say something like, it's a 40-year-old from London and they have kids. Great. How many 40-year-olds in London that have kids do you think there are? Right? It's a lot of people. So we need to go in depth. And it doesn't mean that that is going to be your only customer. You could start with maybe 3 primary personas that are very, very detailed, and you understand exactly who that is. And I can see a couple of answers coming there. Everyone's different. All your target audience has different tastes and preferences. Yep. You don't want your content going into that void. Exactly. It's not specific or relevant. Your content won't be specific enough to answer your target's needs. Yeah. Look at these comments coming through. All of them spot on. That's exactly what we mean here. If we don't have a real idea of exactly who we want to talk to with our brand on social, we're just going to kind of shoot out into nowhere, and it's not really going to talk to anyone specifically. We can start with our niche. It doesn't mean that we're not going to be able to entertain a different type of audience to what we come up with in terms of our initial target audience, but it gives us a focus, and it allows us to start to understand the type of personality that we're talking about that is going to connect with that person, with or that group of people that we've come up with. So I would say try and come up with 2 to 3 customer personas that really, really speak to the type of audience you want to get in front of. And again, coming back to our examples here, we've got some examples of how detailed you can be. So we've got Nico's Pizzeria again on the left. They've even given him a name here. So they've gone for a Simon, who's young, single and professional in his late 20s, works full-time in advertising, lives in Brighton, leads a very busy work and social life. Lee has a big appetite for adventure, a keen athlete who enjoys playing football, but also goes to his local bar with his mates to watch televised sporting events. And then Hathaway Legal on the right there, they've gone for Sally, early 30s, single, first time buying a new apartment in Leeds city centre, works for an insurance company, enjoys reading the newspaper and drinking a macchiato in her nearby coffee shop, tech fanatic and enjoys getting the latest gadgets, graduated with a degree in history, a bit of a grammar nerd, but appreciates quality. Can you see how detailed they are? And the point of these is that every line is actionable. Take Sally for Hathaway Legal. First time buying a new apartment in Leeds city centre. Now, as Hathaway Legal, we might provide a service for first time buyers as solicitors. Fantastic. But actually, how can we catch Sally's eye? We might have content that we post across our social media that we can even have on our website that is something like she also likes coffee shops, so we could say top 10 coffee shops in Leeds city centre, and maybe we could even add a little bit more. So we know she's working for an insurance company, so maybe she's working in a hybrid environment at the moment, so maybe we could do top 10 working from home coffee shops in Leeds city centre. So it's not what the service that we're selling as Hathaway Legal, but at the bottom of that content we can create those call to actions. You know, are you looking for a solicitor's service in Leeds city centre? We're here to help. How can you actually talk to your customers about what they're interested in and catch their eye and make that content on your socials talk directly to the people that you want to engage with? So get as detailed as possible with that. Who are they? What are their demographic details? Their age range? What's their maritals? Are they married? What's their job? Do they have children? What earning brackets do they sit in? What's their hobbies? Are they the decision maker? And do they have any extra things that they might do as a customer? You know, things that are going to link again into the industry and what you're trying to sell them as a product or service. By understanding your audience, you can really start to bubble down to that essence of who you want to speak to. And that's going to really inform the type of brand and the type of personality that connects with those people. And you can start to find those links of what you have there already, what your brand is already and what you care about, and then who those people are that you're trying to connect with and how they're going to connect in that too. Is there such a thing as too specific? I think at this stage, having that idea of 2 or 3 kind of ideas of the type of person, I don't think, I'm going to say no, in my opinion. I'm going to say no. At this point, when you're thinking about your personality and you're thinking about content and you're thinking about, okay, who's going to be interested? If you had 2 or 3 very different people that are all interested in your product, service, whatever it is you're talking about on socials, you can always add. It doesn't mean that they're the only 2 or 3 people you're ever going to cater for, but it means you've got somewhere to start, and you can always add people to that list as you move along and as you grow. How would you make this work if your clients are other businesses? What I'll do with that one, just so we've got time, I will come back to it. Samantha, if you've got anything to add, I'm going to be pausing for questions, so I will come back to that as a question. So don't worry, I'm not ignoring you. Step 3, once we've thought of our brand values, we've thought of our audience and who we are, we now need to think about how we're going to speak. So again, those descriptive words, as well as that type of potential celebrity, we can start thinking, okay, what are those words that describe us? When we're not in the room and someone asks us about our business, what descriptive words do we want them to describe our brand or business as? So again, with our examples, Nico's Pizzeria, charm, authenticity, family. And then Hathaway Legal, powerful, efficient, experienced. What 3 words? And again, you don't have to immediately come to the top 3 words. Have a go at writing some lists about your business. What are the words that I would want to describe my business as? Turn the page over when you've done, give it a brain break, come back to it and start to think about, okay, what words are priority words that we want people to think and come to mind about our business when we're not in the room? And step 4, we don't want to have done all of the work that comes with those first 3 steps and then ruin it with what I talked about in the very beginning of the session, that commentator voice. So now we need to think about the words, the choice of words we're using when it comes to our product or service and our brand. Do we have that catchphrase? Do we speak with a certain accent potentially? If we've got a regional accent here in the UK, is there certain sayings or phrases that would land with a local audience? So back to our examples here, Nico's Pizzeria, fresh, chow. So remember they talked about authenticity, they're talking about that flavour and fresh ingredients, so appetizing. And then Hathaway Legal, they're using correct grammar there, kind regards, excellent. They're not saying thanks mate, cheers mate, thanks for your message. Yeah, so really don't ruin all that work you've done on your brand by not choosing the right words that really go hand in hand with all that work you've done. So this is my first pausing for questions. So let's have a look. Where are we? Let me scroll down. Okay, so where did that one go? There it is. How would this work if your clients were other businesses? So again, if you're working business to business, very similar process, but what you're starting to think about is, okay, who in that business is the decision maker? So if you're providing a service and you want to sell that service to a business, you've just got that extra level of stuff to start thinking about. And I mean, LinkedIn is going to be a really great place for you in terms of business to business work and really talking to other businesses. But start breaking down, okay, what job titles and departments within other businesses are going to make the decision for our service to even be on the table when it comes to getting a new client. And start thinking about which networking events, whether they're in person or online, what networking events are those decision makers going to be at? How can you get in front of the right people? And again, we're then starting to build that business to business persona. So you're going to have kind of 2 levels to that. You would have the type of business you want to cater for, and you can build that idea of those businesses. And then within those businesses, who are the people that you need to get in front of in order to get that business in the bag as your client? So you just got an extra layer there, Marie. else have we got here? Regina, I think it depends on the stage of business or product service cycle at the start. Don't be specific, and then it can get specific as you go along. Yeah, I mean, again, it depends on the industry you're in as well. I think if you can have a real clear idea of who you're talking to, it's going to help really craft that personality. Samantha, nice. How would you make this work if your client is a community of people of carries out events and build awareness on this cause, such as inclusion, people of determination? Again, how can you get in front of the right people that it's going to be the same process, because it's going to be key people within those communities that you need to get in front of. So I'd be thinking about, okay, what influences my audience? What other people are they already following? What brands, what products, what services are they already using? And I'd be building that into the idea of how I can really start to get in front of the right groups of people. There's also a really great technique that you can add on to this persona technique, which might really, really help you. And I think actually, Regina, you're touching on it in that next comment there. You can use something called an empathy map. Now, if you have a search in a search engine for empathy map templates, there are loads out there. So you can build a few personas when you're getting started, and then for each persona, also build up the empathy map around that, which again does refer to what Regina's saying there, which is starting to think about what are those customers' pain points, how are they hearing about information, and you can really get a little bit more detail rather than thinking about their interests or hobbies, for example. So I hope that helps and answers a few of those questions. I hope I haven't missed any, but I can see, Samantha, you've asked a couple of questions about the global scale. So yeah, I'm going to leave that there, but I will be pausing again. So don't worry if I have missed anything. I'm sure Samantha can bring them to my attention in our document that we've got going. So really start to think about those 4 steps when you're getting started, because it's so important to understand who you are as a brand and what you want to put out there before you just start sort of putting content out there with no structure or understanding of who you're talking to. And there is an element also of not being afraid to take action and sort of trial and error. Sometimes if you've got this clear understanding of who you are and this brand, and you're sticking to your brand, fantastic, because then what you can do is you can trial kind of certain ways of saying things, certain emojis, certain hashtags, and you can have a little bit more of a play when it comes to creating that content, because you know you've got that clear understanding of the cause of what your values are and what you care about. Objective 2. Writing for social media. So how can we now start creating that content, start understanding what to put there? And I love this quote. I would have written you a shorter letter, but I did not have the time. What do you think I mean by that? What do you think I mean by this quote? I would have written you a shorter letter, but I did not have the time. What do you think? It's a really interesting on this. How many of you, sometimes it goes one or two ways. We sit in front of a blank screen, we think, I'm going to make some content today and I'm going to get something really good going. And we get that blank page syndrome, right? We don't know where to start. But it also works on the other way. It's much, much easier to write something that is very, very long and sort of has loads of detail, but at the same time, not short, to the point, sharp, sweet, and attractive to our customers. Yeah, and I can see a couple of you saying that it's actually really hard to write something short and to the point. And yet, spot on. It's easy to ramble on, but being precise takes effort. Exactly. That is exactly what I mean here. I would have written you a shorter letter, but I didn't have the time. So try and start building in the time to have that. Oh, I'm going to write something that's rambly and I'm just going to get all my creative juices out on the paper. Take a break, come back to it, and start building in that time into your own calendar when it comes to content creation for you to come back and start to look at what you don't need. And there's a couple of things to really start thinking about. And this is the first one. The average human attention span is around 8 seconds, 8.25 seconds. And actually on social media, that can go right down to about 3 seconds. So, if this was my phone, we're competing, and I always say we're competing against this, the thumb, the scrolling thumb of doom. And there's so much competition on all of these platforms, right? So I could be sat here having a look through socials, just having a scroll, and someone could walk in the room and ask me if I want a cup of tea. And I look up and go, oh, yeah. And I'm still scrolling. I've missed 3 posts by then. So what we want to do is really create these eye-catching posts and pieces of content, whether that is within the first bit of the sentence, whether that's the image we're using, the video the cover image of the video that we're using, whatever it is. So when I'm scrolling, we're not only now, because we know who we're talking directly to them, but within that few seconds of time, that person goes, yeah, oh, that's for me. And they want to read more. And it seems very like, whew, right? And it does mean as marketers, we have to work harder and harder to catch the attention of who we want to become our visitors and our customers. That's what keeps it interesting, right? Keeping up with what's happening and understanding human behavior and how people are using certain apps. If you are interested, and someone just made a comment, people who are not content creators or communication experts won't understand or relate to this. And yeah, I think you're right. If you are really thinking about your audience, start understanding, okay, what else can I actually read about in terms of human behavior, human psychology, habits, that's going to really amplify my skills as a marketer, because it's all very, very linked. So there's a saying that's knocking around, right for the goldfish, and just a bit of fun, but a goldfish attention span currently sits at about 7 seconds. And so we're really not that far in front of them. Just as a bit of a fun fact for you for your pub quizzes there. Assume your reader will only... Did anybody see what was on the rest of that slide that I just skipped past? Anyone see it? Assume your reader would what? What was the second half of the sentence? There's sometimes like one person that sees it. And I'm like, oh, fast reader. Yeah, okay, a few no's. Assume your reader will only read the first half of your sentence. As quick as I went past that slide is sometimes as quick as it goes past their face when they're scrolling. So how, in the first part of that sentence, can you make them go, ooh, that's for me? And the same applies for videos. So those of you that are on video-based or image-based content, so TikTok, Instagram, if you're creating kind of reels or TikTok videos, in that first few seconds, depending on the length of that video you're creating, how are you instantly making that person know that this content is for them? Are they going to be engaged immediately? And a couple of top tips for this: focus on the user in those first few seconds or those first few lines, that first line. What are their motivators? And again, if you're going to work with that empathy map, this might help you prepare for this as well. What are their motivators? What is going to entertain them? What's going to connect with them? And what are their pain points? Are they looking for something to help them focus, or are they looking for something to help them get over boredom in certain situations? What are they interested in? The other way you can look at this is we talk about focusing on the benefits versus focusing on your business's features, which is another way of kind of looking at those motivators and pain points. So what are the benefits and what are the features of that? We've got an example of how we can do this. So we've got a product, we've got a watch here, it's a new gadget watch. On the left, we've got all the features, which of course, some people are going to want to understand the features of your product or your service, and that's great. We can include that within the content that we're talking about, within images, whatever it is that we're posting on our socials. So we can see waterproof up to 5 meters, 5mm thick glass, comes in black, white, blue or gold, and it's got a spherical interface. So we've got those features. But what's the benefits to the service or the product that you are talking about on your socials and for your business? Well, the benefits, actually, you can take it swimming. Someone looking for a waterproof watch, do they want to know, and I mean, unless they're a scuba diver, do they want to know how far, how deep they can go with that waterproof watch? Or do they want to know, okay, can I have a shower? Can I swim with this? 5mm thick glass, okay, some people are going to want to know how thick the glass is, fantastic, but what's the benefit of having that? It's smash resistant. So if you're selling something like a gadget watch that is waterproof, it's for someone that's quite active, they want to know as a benefit to them as a customer, oh, it's smash resistant. In terms of the colours, you know, you're able to really change that colour and it can suit your personality. I mean, I have my smartwatch here. It's not any brand, but I loved the fact that I could choose a different colour strap and I could detach it, and I could choose purple, and I wear a lot of purple. Purple is a colour I'm known for as part of my brand. So the fact that I could wear a purple watch and I can have that all the time, and if I fancy changing it, I can change it up a little bit, that was really attractive to me as a benefit. And comfort and style. So rather than just talk about the shape, oh, it's spherical, fantastic. But actually, how many people, if you think about the benefit to them as a product, if you're looking for a watch, we're not really looking for a specific shape. I mean, some people might, but we are looking for, can I wear it for certain engagements, or is it comfortable? Is it going to last? And does it sit on my wrist and not look too big or too small? So think about what your customer is looking for as a benefit from your product or your service, and create a list like this for yourself. What are your features? What do you provide? What are they paying for? And actually, what are the benefits of each of those features that you can then use within your content and your material? This is a really interesting slide for me. So if we were all now in this room, we're looking, this virtual room on YouTube, we were all looking to write a CV. That first one in the red box. So going with that idea again, we only read the first half of a sentence potentially, and you're looking to build a new CV. Boost your CV with a free. Would you maybe click on that? Or even if you don't click on it, maybe you'll at least pause to read the second half of the sentence? Maybe. It has the word free. If we were all looking to boost our CV, it might catch our eye because it's something we're interested in. But then that second part of the sentence there, boost your CV with a free digital marketing course. If we weren't looking to gain a qualification in digital marketing, the second half of that sentence then might think, that's not for us, that's not what I want to do. But it's all right, it's not too bad. What about the one in the blue? Get a free coffee roasting kit. Now, if we knew this brand, we've connected with them before, we like coffee, because some people I know probably are not coffee drinkers, that might make our interest peak. We might read the second half there. When you try 3 bags of our roasting coffee, again, I might have already bought from this brand and think, you know what, I love this coffee. I'm definitely going to buy 3 bags and get my free coffee roasting kit because I absolutely love it. Fantastic. And then we've got this middle one here. Get product and engineering on the same page. What's that about? Too many big words there. Is that for me or is that not for me? Product roadmap software. That kind of green box doesn't really speak to the benefits of exactly what that audience wants. And you know what? We could all potentially be the customer of this middle service, but just wouldn't have a clue. And something very similar happened to me actually. I recently bought a property and I have a garden, and I was looking for some kind of landscaping tips. The garden is a mess and I do not have green fingers. And I had a couple of landscapers in a room, and there was about 50 people in the room. I was training a session, and we were thinking about taglines and mission statements and how we could really sell ourselves. If we had our logo and a tagline, would people know what we did? And there was 2 landscapers in the room, and one landscaper had come up. She'd written this really in-depth tagline that she really loved. She'd worked hard on it, and she said it out loud. And the only other person in the room that got it was the landscaper. The other landscaper in the room. But actually, when I asked the question, how many of you would like some kind of garden service or landscaping service? About 20-30% of that particular room put their hands in the air. So that's when we can start to think about language. Are we using clear and simple language versus that complicated language that is relevant to your industry and what you're selling? Is it reader friendly? Is it clear? Is it structured? Are you using sentences that are not complicated? And everyday words that, again, even if your customer doesn't understand some of that internal language, it doesn't mean that they're not potentially a customer. Complicated language, things that we don't necessarily need when we're really trying to connect with our audience on socials, technical terms that are not relevant to the benefits, internal language, jargon, any acronyms. I mean, I work in digital marketing and there are so many acronyms and I'm rubbish at them, and people use them in meetings and I'm like, I need to write this one down. It's just not me. My brain doesn't hold them in. So if you're talking to a customer that really doesn't have a clue about your acronyms, have you broken them down at the beginning so that they completely understand every time they read that term, they know what you mean by that? Any flowery language or unnecessary words. So that comes back to that quote again, that rambling on and on and on. Can we cut out anything we don't need? And think about how you can cut your own copy but keep the same meaning. So how can you cut out some of those bits that are sort of overdone, or the words that you're using that potentially don't land right with your audience, but still keep the meaning and the brand and the value that you're trying to add with that content? The last bit about that public presence is something that we hope people don't come into contact with too often with their businesses, but it does happen, and it does happen especially on social media. And think about yourself. Has anyone here ever gone to social media when they've had an issue with a brand or a business to try and resolve that problem? And if you have, why did you go to social media? Tell us in the chat. Why did you use social media to try and resolve your complaint with that business or that service instead of phoning or going on an email? Why did you use socials? I can't believe as well that there'll be no one here that's never used social media to complain about something. There's always at least a couple of people in a room. Yeah, nice. We've got some coming through here. Because they didn't respond to the email or the call. Yeah. It looks bad if they don't respond in public. Absolutely. Perceived as a quicker response to complaints. Yeah. Brands are more likely to respond faster when they're public. It gets answered faster, quicker response. So there's a theme going here, right? Tiff, I will come back to this in a second because I'll come back to you in a sec. Give me 2 seconds. Convenience. Everyone's on social media because they didn't respond to the email and you want others to know about their bad service. It spreads widely. I mean, look at the theme of our answers, right? Really, really similar understanding on why we do it. And our customers are no different to us. They are coming to those social media platforms, whatever it is that they choose, for these reasons. They're no different. What do you think, as a secondary question here, what do you think we need to do when we get a potential negative complaint or comment on any of our social media platforms? What do we need to have in our mind as the business when we respond to them? And while you're telling me that, I'm going to say internal language is our struggle. I always ask my co-workers, is this for our understanding or do our customers understand too? If the customers don't understand and only we do, we're wasting time. Yeah, absolutely, Tiff. And that's a really great kind of input to that slide because it's so true. I mean, we have internal language with these training sessions in terms of what we call different presentations, how we refer to the names of different spreadsheets. And if I ever slip up and say it, I have to then explain, oh, this is what we call a spreadsheet or a tracker, because people just don't understand your internal language. And we sort of forget that a lot, actually. So let's have a look. Damage limitation, acknowledge and direct them to a private chat. Yes, Engie, I love that. Approach the issue publicly, apologise, etc. Try and deal with it privately, one-to-one with the customer. Avoid negative defensive response. Act on the issue. Yeah, via DM, likely to. Oh, where did that go? I just got some. Yeah, likely to be more responsive, quicker than email. Yeah, and loads of you are saying exactly the same things, just in different words there. So absolutely, thank you for all of those comments, because I mean, what I was getting at with that question is, and a few of you have said it, is yes, we want to publicly acknowledge that there is that complaint or that comment. We don't necessarily want to apologise in terms of admitting fault, but we can apologise for their experience so that they know we care. We care about them as a customer. Exactly. But we don't necessarily want to admit publicly that we are wrong, because we need to investigate that, right? So as a lot of you have said, we want to get it offline immediately, as quick as possible. We want to acknowledge, yeah, you've had this real bad issue and we apologise for your experience. We want to avoid passive language. We really want to avoid that. We want to make them or let them know, we know you've had this problem. We're really sorry that you're feeling this way, or you've had this experience, but we want to be active. We want to use a voice that lets them know. We want to take action. We want to fix the problem. Again, with this, we don't want to say things that we don't mean. We don't want to overpromise. We potentially don't want to offer free things in this first message back, because then we know that we have potentially a lot more messages coming through thinking that they're going to get discounts or they're going to get free stuff from us if they complain. But we want to provide them with a direct place that they can come to start investigating the process and finding out what the problem was. And a final point on this, remember that being jokey has a time and a place. And I'm sure a lot of you can think of occasions where there's been a genuine comment, a genuine complaint, a genuine thing that a customer has, and they've come back with a joke and it's just landed very, very wrong. So also remember there's a time and a place. If someone's taken the effort to actually come and leave you a response about something that means quite a lot to them, we want to treat that with respect, and it's really, really important. And also giving them a direct kind of personable touch, a direct person that's going to handle that complaint can be really a great step forward. So as a bit of an example of a potential complaint we might find on one of our social medias, now there's no names, but we can imagine that the customer is someone's name and the business is a business name. Look, when something starts with look, we know we're in trouble. So look, I ordered a mobile phone from your company last week, but when it arrived, it was badly damaged. When I called to complain, I was rudely told that you don't accept returns and that I need to contact the delivery company for compensation. Is this really how you treat loyal customers? I will never buy from you again. Hopeless. This is actually something that really could come through onto any of our social media, especially if we're sending out physical products and we're using a delivery service that's not internal. What do you think about this response? Hello customer, and obviously that would be their name depending on, but we haven't got a name here. Our sincere apologies for the inconvenience caused and the poor customer service you received. It fell below our usually high standards. We value your patronage and we will launch a full investigation into why our team provided you with misinformation and didn't treat you with the full respect you deserve. Please contact me on my direct email. We can organise a full compensation or replacement for you, Hannah. Tell me in the chat what you think about that, because I always find it interesting. Yeah, nice, Natasha. Anyone else got any comments? I will keep coming back to them and have a look. But yeah, think about those core values that you had and exactly your personality. Your personality is not going to disappear just because it's a complaint. You're still going to respond with that same brand. Yeah, it's fine. It's a very stock response. Yeah, that all could have been said offline. You're right, Marie. Prim and proper. Love that, Claire. Generalized. Yeah, exactly right. It's kind of political. Very diplomatic. That's a great word there, Tiff. So, to write a great response to anything that you get through, remember those core elements. We want to take it offline and we want to give them a direct place that they can sign off with. So some of the elements in this response, yeah, fantastic. We've got a name, we know who we're speaking to, we potentially would have a contact, we could add like a direct email or a number for them to get in contact with. We're apologising for their inconvenience, so we could find a way that feels authentic to us as a brand, of saying, really sorry you've had this experience, please get in contact with me so that we can discuss this further. We really want to help know what we can do to help you fix this issue. And then potentially not offering a full compensation on the public forum, so that everyone thinks they're going to get a free phone if they say that their phone was damaged. Interesting. I can't see any questions in the chat there, but if you do have any questions, please do put them in the chat. Samantha is there, but we are running out of time, so I do want to just get through these tools and tips so that everyone gets the links in the chat. But pop any questions in, no problem. But some things that you can take away: grammar. Do those those basic things well, and you're building yourself a real nice way to move forward and connect. Grammarly, if you're using a Chrome browser, download Grammarly. It's a Chrome extension, and it will automatically check not only the spelling mistakes but also the grammatical sense of your sentence. So Grammarly, top tip number 1. You then can think about things like photographs. Have you got any photo editing apps that you can really use those same filters and start to build a visual brand as well as that personality brand? So there's ViscoCam, which is free, VSCO, all capitals. Google have one called Snapseed, which is quite good. Snapseed. And one of my favorites is Pixlr, Pixlr. So have a think and see what really works for you. Editing those photos and creating kind of graphics. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of a great tool called Canva. Anyone heard of Canva? One of my favorites. Again, you can use it for free, but you can also have that paid for business account if you feel like that's going to suit how you're working and really help you with the speed. And you can use some of those templates there to help you out too. Also think of some of the other tools that you need. Have you got a phone that's got a great camera that you can use to really start collecting that content and that visual side, whether it's videos or photographs? And sometimes we have to be our own cameramen, right? Especially if we're on a budget. So get yourself a selfie stick, or one of those selfie sticks that also have the tripod feature and a little button that you can take away. Because if you think about some of the videos that you watch, something that's really boring, maybe I'm a paint and decorator business and I'm painting a wall. If I film myself and put a 40-minute video of me painting a wall onto Facebook or Instagram, you're probably not going to watch 40 minutes of me painting a wall, no matter how good it is. But if I used a little tripod on my phone and I filmed that same video and put it into a time lapse that was like 30 seconds, 40 seconds, you're probably going to watch that video 3-4 times, right? So think about how can you start to build in capturing these moments at the right time. Last pausing for questions before we finish up. Anyone have any suggestions for doing super high resolution pics replacement for Adobe? Oh, Regina. Again, are you using Photoshop or Lightroom? So I do find that Lightroom is quite nice. Yeah, Affinity Photo as well. I've used that as well. It's not free, but it's not too expensive and can be quite good. Yeah, okay, if you're using Photoshop, maybe try Lightroom. It's kind of like a just less heavy version, and it can be quite good. But yeah, I mean, Lightroom would be my go-to, to be honest. But I do sometimes use some of the apps that I've mentioned previously. So Snapseed and Pixlr are the two I kind of go between. To have a look. With that said, we have run over very slightly, so thanks for sticking with me. Your next steps, again, in the link in the description, that takes you to our future and upcoming sessions. In that link as well, there is also an online learning certification that you can take, which is called the Fundamentals in Digital Marketing. So if some of you are just getting started and there was some in this that was quite fast, go and have a look at that 40-hour learning program there and see if any of that kind of helps fill in any gaps that you've got. And finally, don't forget about the Google one-to-one mentoring. Take this link down. You can talk about anything that's more direct to your business and your experience with a Google Digital Garage mentor there as well for a full hour, and you can book more than one. And finally, thank you very, very much. Thanks, Samantha, for keeping up to date with all those links there in the chat. And hopefully I'm going to see you on many more Digital Garage sessions in the future. Thanks for being so engaging. It was a great session. And good luck. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you.